Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to part 2 of this edition of Real Talk, when we'll be talking about cancer care, cancer support, and the new cancer support network that has been established called Guiding Hands. And I've got two very eminent guests here, Naeem Wali and Kusum Dalal, who've been talking about this service that they've set up. These are all volunteers who want to support people, both who are sufferers of cancer, but also the people who look after them within their homes as well. And we've been hearing how this organization has been established and set up. It's fairly new, and how they're trying to build the structure of this organization to make sure that cancer sufferers are not suffering on their own, or their families who are looking after them are not suffering on their own. And they provide, a number of areas of support, both in terms of encouraging screening, providing support to people who are personally suffering from cancer, and also a spiritual engagement as well, to provide support in terms of spiritual needs of the person who is suffering from cancer and their families. So Kusum and Naeem, thank you for coming here and sharing this. Obviously, we've not had much chance to talk about carers and those who give care, but that's another one of your focuses, isn't it, in trying to make sure that both the sufferer but also the people who provide the care support are engaged as well, and they get the support that they need. Now, obviously, there's another element to this, and cancer sufferers, for example, they need their heating to be much higher than a lot of homes. And I know for a fact that in my family, when people got cancer, that the temperature of the heating had to be much higher than everybody else's, and therefore that causes a lot of problems in terms of finance for some people. And I'm not going to delve too much into that, but I'm sure you might have some support around that as well, for those who, or some ideas of how they can navigate that.
Yeah, Macmillan support, there are grants out there for people who are struggling financially. They would have to apply for a grant through Macmillan Cancer Support, although I am aware that they are cutting back on grants because they themselves, and
yes,
as we know, charities are suffering at the moment, huge amounts, enormous amounts, and therefore they may not be able to. I'm not sure what the limits are now, but yeah, there are organisations, and we would be signposting them to those charities.
Because I know that, as I said, many people who do suffer from cancer, obviously they feel very cold, and therefore the heat. Yeah. And we've heard this during the energy crisis at the moment. You see this on the news where people are, suffering cancer, and they have to have the homes heated much higher than most people, who in their homes, and therefore their bills are much higher as well. So this is a real burden on families as well. So coming back to carers and caregivers, and you were saying that you would like to develop some support mechanisms for them as well. Can you give us a rough idea what type of support you're talking about?
So I think one of the elements is, obviously, we want to try and create a support group, specifically for carers, for them to, and it would be for us to just coordinate and see what their issues are and listen to them. So we really want carers to come forward and tell us, and then hopefully from there we can then work on strategies in terms of how we can make it better. So this project is all about, we want, like you mentioned earlier, that we want people who've been through it, because we really want to make a difference and change it. And I suppose the model we work on is that if people have been through it, or if, Kulsum got lived experience in that terms, is how can she make it better than it was for her to another individual. So we really want that support group, so we can then establish in terms of what is it that we need to do. I mean, we mentioned in terms of the project is not and the more people that come forward, the better for us in terms of volunteer or, asking for support, because we don't want this project to just end. We want to see it through in terms of the longevity of it. So we don't want it to just be we do it for 12 months and then it's finished. We want to continue with this work, and so we need more people. But other elements we're looking at is maybe looking at how we can support them day trips, give them that respite we mentioned earlier, how we can lessen the burden from them, give them that break that they need, whether that be a few hours, on a weekend or a day in a month, or whatever we can kind of support with, we're going to try and achieve. And I suppose Kulsum's got better probably understanding from
Yeah.
our own
I
experiences.
mean, usually a lot of this, the trauma starts at when there's an end of life situation, isn't there?
I mean, respite doesn't have to be just when somebody has been given the prognosis as, you know, how end of life, or it could be that they start receiving respite early,
Right.
so that if they can look after themselves and maintain their own mental health and physical well-being, then they are able to look after their own loved ones as well better.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they have a burnout, then it's not good and healthy for them either. But also, I think, without stereotyping, in terms of if you've got female cancer sufferers, as Naeem highlighted earlier onwards, generally women carry on as, or try to carry on as normal, and will try and, you know, function as much as they can to try and keep the household running. So if there are women out there who are cancer sufferers, we would like to hear from them as well. It doesn't mean that just, you know, we are just focusing on just carers who are looking after looking after the person that's suffering. It could be them as well that we can support. Usually, again, like you said, Naeem, male sufferers are best. I guess female recognise that they need to also slow down or support them in any way they can, and they will give them that attention that they need and look after them. But usually I find that women are just like, they just...
I mean, usually the women of the household are left with the responsibility.
Yeah. And
The
they've got
majority of the
children.
responsibility.
Yeah.
And, you know, we must pay respect to those mothers and the sisters and the wives who do look after, take the majority of the burden of looking after members of the family. There's no doubt about it. And Allah reward them for what they do, because they're providing an amazing service to somebody who is, you know, suffering from this dreadful disease. Now, obviously, the carers obviously are very important. And the sufferer themselves obviously need to be given that respite care as well from, you know, somebody else looking after them. It is very important, you know, that, you know, your organisation develops these support mechanisms. But as I said earlier, if somebody wants to, you know, to be part of your organisation and they want to contact you, the best way to do so is ring you.
Yeah.
Can we? I mean, I was hoping that we could put the number up on the screen, but unfortunately, we're not able to do that. So I hope you've got a pen and paper ready. If you haven't, I'll give you a minute to try and get the pen and paper. No, they won't be able to see that, unfortunately. But, you know, if you are one of those families who would welcome the support that this new charity, Guiding Hands, is trying to develop, you know, for the local area. And at the moment, you are concentrating in the North Kirklees area, which is Batley, Dewsbury, Ravensthorpe, Heckman White. We're expanding to Huddersfield as well. And then, inshallah, even further outfield as well. So, you know, if the phone number, because we've got the leaflet, so if you're going to read out the phone number, please.
Okay, it's 07852 965 531.
Do you want to repeat that again, please, slowly?
It's 07852 965 531. So, yes, please do get in touch with us, just for, even if it's advice, information. They would like to know a bit more about our organisation. Yeah, contact us.
All right. Or volunteer as well.
And volunteers.
And they feel want to volunteer. Naeem, obviously, the Integrated Care Board is giving you this support at the moment. You're hoping that that was going to continue, is it?
Hopefully, yeah. The goal is that we can kind of prove the project to be successful and go back and say we need, you know, we need to keep running this project. And you know, ideally, whether we can create enough where we have full-time staff.
Inshallah.
You know, inshallah. So that's our ultimate goal, I suppose. And like I said, it's not going to happen over in 12 months. Or, you know, this is a long-term plan that we really want to continue with and raise awareness around. And
well, the statistics are 1 in 2 people will have cancer at some point in their lives.
That is a huge, huge challenge, isn't it?
Yeah.
1 in 2
so the numbers
people.
are growing.
So if you've got 4 people in the household, 2 are likely to, Allah bachaye, but 2 are likely to, at some stage, may develop cancer of some sort. You know, and as I said, you know, my very good friend Neil Fishman you know, 10 weeks ago he was fine, and then suddenly, you know, eight weeks ago he passed away. And I know many examples like that. But yeah, this is a disease that affects every household, whether we acknowledge it or not. You know, everyone has been touched either directly or indirectly by this disease. And in the past, it's been something that a lot of people have been reluctant to talk about. We know for a fact that, you know, all our scholars have said that anybody who's affected by this disease, when they pass away, Allah automatically gives them the straight path to Jannah. You know, and that is one consolation that we have, that people who suffer from this disease will automatically, inshallah, will go into Jannah. There's no doubt about it. But the loss of the individual within the family is huge, as some people, you know, have already experienced. There's no doubt about it. But this is something, you know, your charity, Guiding Hands, as you say, we started. So within 30 seconds, what was your main point that you want to mention to people?
I think the main point for me is about the carers and the screening.
Right.
Those are the two things. Is please don't suffer in silence. Make sure you get the right support and get early diagnosis. You know, make sure that when you're, you know, if you, hopefully if your GP calls you,
don't be reluctant.
Screening, don't be reluctant.
Kulsum, your message to my viewers?
Yeah, same. Don't be scared about hearing the C word. You have to deal with it, and it doesn't mean that there's got to be a grim outcome. It could, inshallah, save lives as well with early screening and getting the right support and putting in place.
There you are. I hope you found today's program of real interest, because as I say to you, this issue is affecting everyone. Thank you for coming, both of you. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for sharing. May Allah give you the highest strength in, you know, in what you're doing, and give you the support, and may you support many people. Inshallah, I'll see you next week. Take care in the meantime. Allah protect you and me and everybody else, particularly our brothers and sisters in Gaza, in Palestine. Please make dua for them. Take care. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.